Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 17th. What we were talking about the other day, we had all the positive signs of, magenta over yellow. But as soon as the day began, we dipped below it from the daily, and we were looking at some pretty low readings from NBI white, but started to rise pretty significantly. And at the drop-off of the shakeout even, within that, and of course, once we got to that EBM yellow, which is what we were talking about from before at the 42.20 level, once below that, that was the signal that, potential for things to start moving. We'd already seen it on the 50K, had already put in early sell signal, and still it held up pretty well. I mean, we're still hovering right around the magenta and the EBM right there. And but this does project that we should see some additional weakness out of the market on that. The NASDAQ was stronger, really from before, but also putting in significant weakness with the steel cross that added to it. But it supported much better when it moved back above the EBM, and still a little bit better off than the S&P. And that was clear just from the general readings before. But now you've got EBM yellow also below. A little bit more of a push of white through there, and you'll have really a clear indication that maybe we're going to see a bit more pullback retrace. Dramatic change here within the euro, because the recognition that the eurozone is just a disaster. So trying to fluff that from the Fed standpoint, still having trouble. It's been a slow decay reading here, but still holding up fairly well, and like I said, well above its range. This fills back in a few of the positive extremes we've been having from right over here, and we just had to carry through. The fact that it broke that 50% to me is interesting. It means we're likely to make that run towards the 0% that we saw from the spike of the white back over here. So we were in that little divergence while this was rising, and then effectively from this point. This is not the 2A, this is just regular Deocon paint that we'll show you there. But clearly, it's just a matter of waiting for that to take place. And that's just something I point out a lot on the 5K charts here, where every time we get that, our expectation is to the 0 point. So from yesterday's report, at the end of the day, we had that setup. So the expectation was in the post-market that we would dip. It did. Day started out, similar setup. That one actually held up quite some time. It was still soft through most of it, as you can see from the dot setups, and then we got a little bit mid-morning clear spike, and that one led to the move to the lows, and then the white remained above, and you can see all those short dots just stayed on there, and in this brief little point where you had the pop-up. Now, what I'm looking for in that particular case is, am I getting not just the orange below, but did I have a move of either steel that shot above 13, or in fact did it reset below the 0 line and come back up? In this case, did not, and clearly had that rejection again right there at the lows. Held on for a couple bars before just cascading all the way back down, and it had just previously touched the same algos that we had from before, and then it just kind of floated sideways for a while, until we ended up with additional sparks, came right back to the 0. Here we had the divergence where you had the spike of the magenta. White comes above, but you know that you can't do anything until you get that breakdown. So a little trend line points out, that's when that took place. Still tried to hold on, but knew that powerful signal. Once you had that white moving back above red over there, and then it finally cleared right about this point, and that's when you started to get the acceleration. Here, when you see that magenta spike and then you have the white, I'm looking for the dip lower, and then usually you're going to get some type of bounce back, and that's exactly what happened a little bit later. As soon as the magenta crossed over, it was a much stronger read. You had that dip below there with the orange on the DOC, and then to see it move above the 13. Is that a sustainable run? No, typically not. And especially since we've seen this secondary spike, so you might see a little bit more uplift before revisiting those lows. The question will just be whether the lows start to rise. but perfectly within exactly what we would expect from those readings. So I think that's encouraging. I think we saw the same thing on Bitcoin. I don't have a paint bar attached to Bitcoin, but even on the 60-minute, when it was at the what was that 41 range almost, yeah. And in this case, though, you had rising zero level, which brought it up, and you actually had two of the spikes relatively close to that same 39, the previous algo level, right around that 39,000 range, and retraced to the zero, putting another setup for a little lower again. So all in all, makes it clean and simple to be able to see that from that MBI white line. So all good. As always, I will continue to post relevant details on Skype chat. Trade well. We'll talk to you later.